Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to listen to us today. Just a little bit about the trust that I work for, Princess Alexandra Hospital, based in Essex. We look after most of the London traffic that comes out on the M11, Stansted Airport and things like that. So we're sort of a mid-sized hospital dealing with acute as well as all normal services that a community would expect. Up to about half a billion residents. We are probably, or we consider ourselves in about the top 10 of NHS with regards to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is really important to us. We're also very much into innovation. So a lot of the things that I'll be picking up on today is because we've had to bring in a lot of technologies and applications that might not necessarily be generally seen within the NHS. So for us, cybersecurity is really important. The attack surface from what we've been bringing in is so vast now. IoT type stuff. We've seen attacks through coffee machines. We've seen attacks through cars. And it's really important to actually know what you have within your attack surface. And these can be anything from door systems to your normal PCs, medical equipment especially. A lot of the medical equipment is pretty legacy, can often be running on XP or something similar. And it's difficult to upgrade that if you don't actually know what's in your network. And I'm sure a lot of other trusts like us have a number of different connectivity ways into their network. So we've got a number of Wi-Fis for public, for staff, for bring your own devices, for medical equipment, as well as our direct networks. I think this slide I love because it isn't cyber risk. We all talk about cyber risk, but actually the risk is bigger than that. If we have any issues, if there are any problems within the trust where our network is compromised, it's ultimately patient safety. I'm sure a few of you will probably remember the hospital in Germany. They were hit by a ransomware attack and they had to move a lot of their patients out, and one patient died on the way to another hospital. That was directly attributable to the ransomware attack, and actually was the first hospital or the first recorded incident where a patient died due to a cyber security attack. But it's not just those big ones. There's been a lot in the press recently about a number of NHS trusts that have been caught out via ransomware or data being displayed on the internet or some other thing. There's a lot of suppliers that are attacked, which causes impact to the NHS. And it's not just us. We're connected to our GPs, pharmacists, local councils, and again, any attack is bigger than just cybersecurity. If our door systems are hacked and we can't get into certain places, that's patient safety at the end of the day. If our PCs are attacked and people can't get hold of records, allergies, those sort of things, that's patient safety. So everything we talk about in cyber risk is actually generally a massive risk to each and every trust. So what we had was what we thought was a really good spreadsheet of all of our assets, and I'm sure most trusts and most industries are the same. You can use ITSM tools. You do have good CMDB type scenarios where you can keep a lot of data, but it's always difficult if you're using the old SCCM or MECM, the Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager. You know generally what PCs you've got on your system. When we did our discovery, and I must admit we started with a proof of concept with Armis to see whether we would get benefit from it, and we discovered so many different devices that we had no knowledge of. Not just that they were perhaps not properly patched or updated, but more the fact that there was things joining our network that we just were not aware of. So for example, a lot of people that have got electric cars now and they've got internet on board, were attaching themselves to our public Wi-Fi when they were coming in. We found an awful lot of PlayStations, and my first thought was, why on earth have we got PlayStations on our systems? But then when you think about it, we do have doctors on call, we do have people that are in our accommodation blocks, etc., and there's no reason why they can't have PlayStations there. But it was something that we were unaware of in terms of the risk. We knew we had a problem with EBME, electro-biomedical equipment. We knew that would be an issue because we knew there was a lot of legacy stuff in there. But we didn't know the scale of those EBME devices and how old some of them were. We did actually find a Windows 3.1 device that has now fortunately gone, and a lot of XP devices, as well as Linux, Unix, etc. And it's difficult to know what you've got unless you have that. So we decided, once we'd had the proof of concept and started rolling it out to a lot more things, that we could then see now everything across our estate, and more importantly, decide which of those things needed patching, because as we know, if you upgrade a bit too quickly, sometimes you have more of a problem than not upgrading at all. So we could be a bit more targeted on where we were going to upgrade and what was really our business continuity, business critical devices that we needed to keep an eye on. And the reporting that we get is so varied. We're able to have an analyst looking at the dashboards at a low level. We've got a security manager that looks at a different set of dashboards, and then the head of technical services and myself look at different dashboards, and again I can pull out reports that go to our execs to keep them informed on what our actual cyber risk is. So we tended to find that the monitoring and reporting was probably the biggest advantage for me, and as we move into CAF, the cyber assessment framework, being more important for our DSPTs, we know that we need to have this visibility and what we're going to do with it. It was interesting when I was talking to the staff after our first set of POCs and as we started to go live, that we had an analyst that had found a particular machine that was connecting to the internet and was sending out information. We managed to find that really quickly, and we're finding now that just this example is the one we tend to use, but we have examples coming in on a regular basis. It's the stuff that we don't see, it's the stuff that we're stopping, it's the things that we're finding because we're patching early, because we are looking at our vulnerabilities early. It's those things that don't come up that are most important to me. But this is a really good example of where one of our analysts found something and managed to block anything bad happening, and it was a really dodgy one, which I'm glad we never actually got to.
Lovely, thanks, Jeff. So my name's not in the book. I'm the head of healthcare for Armis, and just wanted to give an example of what Jeff just spoke about with that quote from one of his great cyber analysts of what it looks like if that isn't detected. What if it isn't picked up? So these are a couple of screenshots of a proof of concept we had running in an American healthcare organization, but they didn't have any integration set up. They were just monitoring traffic. So we're not just looking at a device, we're looking at what the device is doing, how it's behaving. We monitor 5.2 billion devices globally. So we know what normal looks like for a device and when it could start acting abnormally. So this is an example of a Somatom CT006. I think it's a CT scanner that we've been monitoring. So as you can see, we're looking at the type of traffic. It's normal. It's scanning parts of the body. Normal behavior. Perfect. And then what we can see here is the clinician actually using the device went to Google, maybe checked out the Facebook, went onto WebMD to find out what they're looking at on that scan. But as you can see here, they go on to check their email. Spam phishing is one of the easiest ways for any organization to be breached, because no matter how much training you put in place, no matter what technologies you buy, someone is always going to click the link. It's just human nature. So as we can see here, they clicked the link. It went to a phishing domain. But what happened after they clicked the link? So we can see that it is now redirected to a botnet site, which is a notorious place that hosts malware, and started to download ransomware. And this is all happening while the clinician is sat there. They've got no idea this is happening because they've got no way to see this device behavior. This is inside the network. It's not north-south. It's not east-west. It's doing something that it shouldn't. So what happens when it's downloaded? This malware begins to port scan to find a way to move throughout the network and spread the malware within the system. And we are detecting all of this as it's happening. And the key part here is the next image scan, or key part for me. This person has continued as normal. They are still working on this device whilst the malware is spreading throughout the network and causing some potentially life-changing issues. I think WannaCry was a little bit too long ago, if anyone remembers that, where we're all ripping cables out of server rooms, hoping for the best. But as we've seen over the past 2 weeks alone, there's been an unprecedented rise in cyber attacks on the NHS. And it's only going to get worse, because we do have a lot of legacy systems. We do have 14-year-old medical applications that do one job, but we can't get rid of it, we can't upgrade it, we can't move it. It's not about removing all of the risk. It's about understanding all of the risk and putting the correct people, policies, and procedures in place to support that. So within this instance, we saw, without Armis, unaware of anything going on the network and everything going wrong. If we had Armis deployed and integrations in place, as soon as someone tried to communicate with that botnet server, we could have either booted it off the network. But being a CT scanner, we don't really want to boot that off the network while someone's being scanned. We can segment it, we can isolate it, we can make sure nothing goes wrong. And why is this important? It's not just about cyber resilience, it's about the compliance attached to the NHS. DSPT was updated in September. We like to say it's now in hard mode. It's asking so much more of overstretched compliance and cybersecurity teams. What can we do to help with that process? With all of this information that we are collecting and collating around assets and cybersecurity posture, we have built a multitude of dashboards and dashlets which collate all this information to help you complete your DSPT submission and demonstrate compliance in real time. Thank you. I think we've rushed through that and maybe got you some more time back. But if there's any questions, we are doing a cyber resilience panel chat this afternoon at some point. We're also at stand 1B or B1 if you'd like to come and have a chat or ask any questions. But thank you very much.